So, you think you're pretty good at Photoshop, do you? Is that a challenge? I think it might be a challenge. I think it might be a challenge. All right, I just rewatched that. That is terrible. I'm such a dork. This dork though is Dan Scott. I am a professional designer, Adobe certified expert in Photoshop, and the course creator of the Photoshop Advanced course I bring around laptop. And what I've done is I've dug out my 30 best tips. We're gonna build this project together over here, and I'm gonna impress you with 30 advanced Photoshop tips. Let's go. Right, to get started, there are some exercise files that you can download for free. They're in the description below. And we're gonna start with this one called distractions. We're gonna open up 01, 02, 03, 04. So the first tip is called find distractions. Okay, so what you wanna do is find your Band-Aid tool, okay, the healing brush, hold it down and grab the one called remove tool. Now this one's been upgraded and a lot of people know. Okay, there's this option here that says find distractions, and we're gonna make sure generative AI is turned on to force it to use all of the artificial intelligence stuff. Okay, and find distractions, look at these. Ooh, there might be more by the time you get here. This one's cool. Let's go to find distractions people. It's gonna go through the document. Can you see they're all a bit of pink? And what you can do is just click OK, or hit enter, or hit the little tick. Wait a second. Oh, distracting people gone. Come on. Let's go to distractions 2, because what it does is, watch this, the same feature here. If I go to people again, it knows that this person is the focal point, and I don't want to remove this. I want to get rid of the distracting people. On that first one, everyone was facing away, so nobody was like a key person. I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard. Bam, annoying people are gone, except for those two. Let's undo. Do it one more time, and if they miss anything, you can just use the brush tool at the top here. Just go, you as well are annoyingly distracting humans. Let's try it one more time. Oh, so good. The streak just disappears. And you'll notice that my selection with those people was super rough. You can be so rough with this tool and just kind of like blob people out, and it seems to work. What about that wires one, you say? Oh, that could be cool. Let's have a look at that. So we've got this other one, 03, lots of wires going on in the picture. We could remove them, but we all know we'll turn it into a bit of a mess. But what if there was a one-click removable cables and wires? Let's give this a go. Let's wait. Oh, no freaking way. Look at it. It's so good. Now it's kind of like one click. I'll show you a little trick you can do. Tip number 2, or 1.5 actually. Okay, it's the same tool here, but watch this. If I put another layer on top and I go sample all layers, I can say this top layer here, we'll sample them all, and then I want you to remove the wires and cables. See them all here and covering up all our nice, I don't know, scenery and stuff. Oh, bam, look at that. Somehow the tram now works on fresh air, which is a technological marvel, but man, that is good, huh? And the cool thing about it, see this layer just above it? You can go in now and kind of mask this out and decide, actually, for some reason I need to kind of like keep a part of it, or maybe just this part running here. Okay, move some of it back in if you need to. I'm gonna go back to the way it was. Oh, so good. Before, after, bam. All right, I'm gonna stop saying bam. I've watched a few of my latest videos. I say bam too many times. No more in this video. All right, the next one, there is a bunch of files I want you to open up. Open up 01, 02, 03 in Photoshop. I've got mine open here. Where are my guys? There it is. All right, tip number 2 is actually just a little one here. If you hold Control Tab, I think it's Command Tab on PC, it'll just cycle through all of the open tabs. So you don't have to kind of like figure out what tab to click. You can just kind of cycle through them. That's Control Tab on Mac. And actually, I just paused and double checked. It's actually Control Tab on a PC. Turns out that's the same on Mac and PC. Control Tab. All right, tip number 2. Hands up if you're a magic wand lasso tool person. You're like, oh, I keep using these ones. Or down here, you're like, I'm a magic wand tool. To the day I die. Today's the day. Tip number 3 is this new feature, okay? They've kind of snuck it in there. It's called Selection Brush Tool. It's a weird one where I used to love spending ages going through and selecting everything. You know, I was like, okay, I'm really good at this. I'd be using awesome stuff in here like select, color range, and focus area and impressing people. You can be really lazy now, okay, using this brush here. Okay, it's the Selection Brush Tool. It's the latest version of Photoshop. And in terms of the brush size, this is tip number 4, brush size, combining 3 and 4. Okay, we all know we can change the brush size up here by dropping it down. That's boring. And you're like, I know the shortcut. You use square brackets, right? Square brackets up, square brackets down on your keyboard. Okay, but there's an even better one. Prepare yourself. If you're on a Mac, hold down the Control and Option key. Okay, and if you're on a PC, hold down just the Alt key. Okay, Mac people, click with your mouse, hold it down and go left and right. Oh, brush sizes. You can just see it and just click and drag it. Great to go small, big. That's Control and Option, and just click your mouse. On a PC, it's slightly different. You hold down the Alt key, you got it, and then you click and drag with the right mouse button. It's a weird one. Alt, and then right click and drag. So you hold the right button down. Here you go. So I can pick a brush size. I'm picking something that's kind of right for the legs here. And I want to select all of the legs, kind of the boots, not really. So something like this. And I'm just going to click and drag. Okay, so this is tip number 3. We double back. Okay, so that is a good enough selection for Photoshop these days. You're like, no, I spent ages learning how to do sweet selections. This tool here, okay, the selection brush is just, it's really good. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say generative fill. This doesn't count as a tip because it's just a thing that everyone knows, I think. I'm gonna type in shorts with turquoise socks. Is that turquoise? I totally read that off as a post-it note. I can't spell turquoise. Let's give it a go. Oh my goodness, how good is it? Over here, if you haven't used generative fill before, you've got variations you can mess around with. It's just so good. If you're one of those people who tried generative stuff in Photoshop, you know, a year ago when it all came out, you did that Lighthouse tutorial, that kind of a Photoshop baked into the software, and you were like, kind of worked. What you'll notice now is that with Firefly 3, the new model, it's just so much better. It used to give you kind of weird stuff. It still kind of does, but man, it hallucinates a lot less, and the results are so good. One of the other drawbacks of it before is I like this first one here. Remember, it's on its own layer, which is good. But look at the difference. So good. And can you see the rings of light that kind of been brought through onto the legs? Oh, lens flare, yo. I do like a good lens flare. Did anybody spend the first part of their Photoshop career adding lens flares to stuff? Just me? All right. All right. So the other thing I want you to notice is that it's gone to work fast. Is it goes through and just gives you kind of a lowish res. I'm going to zoom in. Command +++, spacebar, move around. If you've seen it before, you'd be like, it's kind of good, but watch this. There's an option now for the one that I like. See this little thing? It says Enhance Details. Click on it, and it just gives you a better quality version of that. It kind of goes and re-renders it and gives you more pixels and more depth. It's hard to see really on this video here, but it is better detail. Undo, redo. All right, tip number 5 is generate similar. So you might have something you're like, I like that one because of the socks, so you know, the way it's kind of portrayed. Okay, you can go up to here. Instead of just clicking generate and getting another 3, you can say, I like this one, do one that's quite like it. Okay, so generate similar. It's gonna help narrow down and make variations of the thing that you're already like, rather than just 3 brand new ones. All right, 1, 2, 3. I think I like my original one. All right, the next couple of tips I want to show you around CC libraries. Hands up who's avoiding CC libraries. You're like, I refuse to use them. Let me know in the comments if that's you and if I change your mind. Let's do it. All right, you get a bonus tip before we get started. This thing here is a pain in the butt. It's awesome. Okay, this thing here, it's always in the way, right? You can do this, see the dots? Go to this one that says pin bar position. Then you can leave it down there and it won't move. Oh. All right, let's get a library going. Window, go down to libraries. You'll notice they're not calling them CC libraries anymore for some reason. Okay, they are libraries. I'm gonna create a new one. Okay, actually, just before we go on, can you see, I love libraries. Look how many libraries are. The cool thing about them is they're a way to share amongst your team, your students, colleagues, all sorts of, let's have a look at one of mine, all sorts of elements. Let's go to ones that I use quite a lot. So bring a laptop style. This one here wasn't even created by me. It's created by our UX designer, Vic. And if I go into it, okay, can you see, she shared it with me. She's got all the brand colors all nicely laid out here. She's got all the character styles laid out, all the different components we use. It's a great way of sharing with other people so that everything is consistent. I can use this color that she's made. I know it's right. I know it's the same. For us now, let's create our own new library. Gonna call it library. Pick a name, any name. You get given this little window. What I'm going to do is just drag it out and just kind of like dock it in here. See the blue line there? Just so that I've got properties, layers, and my library's nice and big and open. All right, I want this to be shared with other applications, okay, so other software instead of exporting it. And I want to share it with my team. So I'm going to click this top one here, hold shift, grab the bottom layer. So they're both selected. And then down here, see this little plus? Okay, there's an option in here that says graphic. Grab those two, smush them as a graphic, and let's give it a name. Let's call it hiking and hit enter. So let's start using those libraries. Let's go to this other file from your exercise files. It's called O2. It's this like beginning document that I've made for us. It's a little Instagram post. V key to go to our move tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my ellipse, just make sure it's selected in the layers panel. And then I'm going to drag hiking, drag, and just dump it on. Okay, gives me a little warning. Don't show again. Yes, please. I'm going to scale it up and I'm going to give you another little tip. Tip 7, hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and it will scale from the center, which is awesome. Okay, line it up so it fits above our lips. Let's hit enter on the keyboard. Okay, so when you drag it out, you just need to remember to hit enter. And another little tip is going to be Command Option G. What that'll do is that it'll make my image have a clipping mask above whatever it is above. Can you see it there? A few of you will be like, hey, I know a better shortcut. I'm going to undo that. So tip number 8 is double tips. What you can do is, watch this, hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and just hover above the gap in between these two layers. See that? Does the same thing. Okay, so it's Command Option G that I use a lot. It's Control Alt G on a PC, and it just masks the top one with the bottom one. We can hold down that Alt or Option key. All right, so we've mastered in the circle, nice. The next bit of magic I want to show you is artboards inside of Photoshop. Hands up who didn't know artboards were in Photoshop. Hands up with the other hand who knew they were there but refused to use them. You do the old, you got two documents, you want to like move one to the other, you click, hold, drag it up to the tab, hold for some random length of time, and then drag it down and leave it. If that's you, let me know in the comments. So what are artboards? They're just multiple pages inside of Photoshop. Not everyone knows they're here. And if they do, they don't know all the special tricks to make them awesome. This here is an example, kind of an extreme, not extreme example, but this is how I use artboards. I have got a course, Illustrator Advanced, link in the description. And when I release it, okay, I need to create like all sorts of different assets that use and share a lot of the same assets. So it's like, imagine this is like 13 different Photoshop documents that I have to have open. If I need to make a change, I have to go and change them all. Whereas this, it's really easy to update lots of things at once and to see how they all kind of consistently work together. So great for social, great for any sort of like big campaign. I use them a lot. Let's go back to O2 Instagram. How do you make artboards? Basically, we started with a regular old PSD. There's nothing special about this one. To turn it into a multi-page artboard type thing, okay, basically go up to Layer, go to New. It's in a weird place. Layer, New, and go to Artboard. Okay, we're going to give it a name. Instagram 01, hit enter. Nothing really changes except you can see the layers are a little bit different, okay? And you see this kind of like pluses around the edges. If you can't see them, the easiest way is to click on the name here, okay? Or you can go to the move tool, hold it down, grab the artboard tool. Either way, as long as you can see the dots, okay, what you can do is you can click on this little plus. And look, you've got a new artboard, a new page. I have no idea what tip we're up to. I'm going to say 9. That wasn't the tip. What is the tip then, Dan? Okay. Instead of like duplicating and getting a blank document, you can hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and click that same button. And it makes a copy. I'm going to say tip number 9. Right, let's jump to another new feature because what I want to do is have a series of social media posts with different images. Okay, but this one here I've got, that's fine. I'm going to go to O3 and create a brand new one because there's a new feature in Photoshop called Generate Image. Okay, so you used to be able to only generate small things as part of existing images. There was hacks around it, but now it's actually just baked into Photoshop. It's better to not do it as part of artboards. It's just easier doing it on a blank doc and then moving it in. So what we're going to do is you might see it down here, okay, in your contextual taskbar, or there's a button here. Can you see this is new down the bottom? Click on that. The cool thing about this window here is that it gives you some prompt inspiration. So if you're finding it hard to know how to talk to the computer, if you click on a few of these, can you see it'll give you a kind of what Adobe knows is good ways to communicate your ideas. Okay, so that might be a good way. I'm going to hit reset. Now for my work now, we are doing kind of a camping outdoorsy kind of vibe for our social media account. So I want this. I've gone teenage boys and girls, back of heads looking at mountains. Why back of heads? That's a little tip, okay, is that AI finds it really hard to match faces. So you can't do a series of 3 images that all have the same facial features. AI is not really good at that at the moment. So I often get them looking away because it's easy to get like sandy blonde hair on a couple of different people that kind of look the same, just for a bit of consistency across bigger projects. Anyway, let's just hit generate. And I'm always blown away at how amazing this generative AI is. Now, I talked about it before. It's moved to Firefly 3, kind of the image model, and it's just amazing. Another little tip for you. Not counting this as an official tip. Okay, so back of heads is good. I like sometimes full body. Let's go generate. There you go. And now you can do the cropping. I love it. Now, the only problem with this is that, let's say we're doing an image series here of social media posts. This one here looks very different from this one here. Let's go to Window, Arrange, and I'm going to add this to the tips list. We're up to tip number 10, I think. Just making up numbers. Go to Window, Arrange. Let's go to 2 up vertical, and it allows you to kind of see 2 different files that are open. Okay, so I can see this one plus this one. You can see they're just not in the same zone. Okay, they're not consistent. Ooh, but there's a trick. Let's close that one down. I totally closed that file. Let's go back in there. You can go to Window, Arrange, and go back to Consolidate to all tabs. That's a better way of doing it. Oh, you get a bonus tip. Tip number 11. See, I have OCD when it comes to number 1, number 3, number 2. All right, number 2 over here. There we go. I don't know why that's important. It is. Let's go to 03. What we're going to do, I'll zoom in, is I'm going to say, this is the biggest upgrade for me for any of the AI, is that I've got this layer selected. I'm going to go to this option here, this first one that says reference image. Okay, let's click choose. I've got an image that I like already, and I want to keep the same vibe to it. Because if you had to tell it, like imagine if you had to kind of describe it as a prompt designer. That was the biggest, I don't know, cop out at the beginning. It's like, hey, you guys ready to become prompt designers? I'm like, no. Can't spell real good. But now what I can say is like, make it like this. See the sun, you know, it's like golden hour, there's bokeh, there's some terms that I know, but not many. You might be worse than me. All you need to do is say, use that image as a reference image, please. Get rid of full body. Hit generate. Oh, it's so good. Look at that. It's used the same kind of low light. Let's have a look. Let's go 2 up again, window. Range, let's go 2 up vertical. Okay, can you see? It's used the same kind of colors. Oh, it's even used the same color from the socks. Look at that. The browns are in there. The light is just coming over the mountains. I love this. That's tip number 12. That is reference images. So good for AI. Now let's make it even better. That is kind of on brand and kind of lined up. I'll show you another little trick. Let's go window, arrange, consolidate. Okay, and I'm going to go to, oh man, it did it again. I'm going to go to this one. Okay, I like this image here. Actually, which one do I like? I think I like this kind of cropped in one here. So I'm going to say, you, my friend, are going to be added to my library. Okay, I'm going to add the graphic. Cool. Next one though is this other button. We've looked at the reference image. Let's keep that. But let's go to this next option here. Actually, no, let's change the reference image because we're kind of like trying to keep this thing on brand, like matching things that are branding. What's more brand than a logo? Can you see all the kind of details in it? Take a little mental screenshot. I'm going to use that as a reference. And I'm going to supercharge it with the effects here. So this next little option here, I can say, I don't want it to be photo, I want it to be art. And I've already play around with this one. I really like the way it comes out when it's on materials. And I scroll down to origami. I like this one. I'm going to hit this generate button again and prepare yourselves. I really want to say bam, but it's amazing. I love it so much. Nothing could be more on brand. Let me show you the logo. Hit spacebar. Can you see? It's used the same kind of like mountains, the same colors from it. Okay, it is amazing how like connected to the logo it is. Look at that. It's even in, look at that one. It's floating. I love reference images. All right, so let's go and use one. Which one do I like? I think I like this one. So I'm going to say you are going to be added in here as well. Let's get back to our artboards. So remember, Control Tab to come along. I'm going to click on this image here, hit delete on my keyboard, make sure I'm just above the ellipse, grab this one, okay, get it in the right spot, and hit enter if you've dragged out anything from the library. Command Option G to get it to clip. I want another artboard here. Remember, just click on the name. I should probably name this one. Pretend like I name my artboards all the time. Let's call this one Instagram 2. So if you click on the name either here or up here, you get the pluses. What's the key you hold down to get a duplicate? Or you remember, Option on Mac, Alt on a PC. I've got another version. I click on the image, hit delete, grab this one, drag it out, hit enter, Command, Option G. Oh, look at us. Sweet shortcuts, doing cool stuff, and consistently cool stuff that is all on brand with our client. Command or Control 0 to kind of zoom out to see them all. And artboards, they're cool, huh? And if you've got your hand up at the back there, I see you, and you're like, they're a pain in the butt to use. Oh, guess what? All the next tips are going to make artboards even easier to use, especially when they get big. They can get tricky. So tip number 13 is a really easy, simple one. If you hold down the Command key on a Mac, Control key on a PC, and just see this little chevron here. If you click on it, look, just kind of like closes it all down, and like that is simple. They're all still there, okay? But it just kind of tidies it up. Sometimes that is really useful. And it's pointed out that I haven't named it well. There you go. Tip number 14 is, if you've ever done this with an artboard, and you're like, all right, I'm just gonna have this, you want it on the edge here, and you're just like, oh, it springs to life, especially when big images end up on all sorts of artboards, and you're like, okay? What you can do is, one of them is just grab the name and drag it across. Okay, that's not the tip. Okay, just makes it less likely to, to jump out. I'm gonna undo that. What you can do is watch this. Say you got a background image and you're sick of it jumping around. You can click on it and watch this. Here is a button here that you have always seen, but never ever clicked on. Look at this. You're like, yeah, never clicked on that guy there. This one here says prevent auto nesting. If I click on that, this layer here is not locked really. What it's done is, watch this. I can get it to the edge here. I can move it up here. It's still on that artboard. It's still in the right place. It just happens to be up here now. Okay, so you can do this so that things will not jump out. That's a way of maybe fixing some of your problems. Want to get fancier with tip number 15? Okie dokie. This is probably one of my biggest favorite things to show people who are already pretty good at Photoshop. It's this option here, the other thing that you've never ever clicked on. In some new versions of Photoshop, they've turned it off. Let's just make sure everyone can see theirs if you can't already. So go to the little burger menu at the top of layers. Go to this one that says filter options and click show if it's not on. And this thing here, your life in Photoshop, you're like, yep, I've seen kind, never clicked on it. Today's the day. We're going to click on it and discover what's in here. It has lots of things. I want to go through them all, but let's focus. Let's do this one. Let's go to Artboards. I find this one such a big upgrade for when you're working in Artboards is I'm going to make this nice and big so you can see. You're like, where do all my Artboards go? I've only got Artboard 3. Watch this, if I click in here, it only shows me the Artboard 2 and everything inside of that instead of all of them. Just tidies things up so much, especially when I'm working with that big file that I showed you earlier. There is so many Artboards and it gets confusing to know where they all are. You can turn on this layer filtering, okay, and just show me the Artboards. So it only shows me Instagram 1, 2, or 3. Super tidy. The one thing with these filters though is that sometimes you just need to turn them off. So there's a little light here, okay, there's a red button. If you click it off, somehow on is red. And off, everything comes back to life. You see them all there? Right, let's get back into using libraries and show you how to use those really efficiently. Okay, so we're going to work between applications because libraries work between applications. Let's go to Illustrator. What I've done is I've given you a file. It's called O5 poster. If you open that up in Illustrator, what I can do is I can go to my libraries panel. I can find the libraries panel that I was working with, like and subscribe. And look, they're in this application too. And if I click on this option here to share it with people, it can be across my whole team, all using the same library. What's really good is, let's say this image here, let's go to Window, let's go to Links. And a lot of people know that this is an Illustrator as well. This is an image that is in this here. And let's say this is the autumn one and we're moving to the spring one or next week or the new newsletter banner. We just need to update it. Watch this. I can click on this and say, see this option here, this first little icon here in the links panel says relink to CC libraries. Ooh. Now this is a weird flow. Watch this. I can say, I want you, and nothing happens. See this little button down here? That there is really important. It should be brighter and shinier. Click on relink and watch, bam. It just goes through and changes the image inside of Illustrator. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Hold shift. There you go. Libraries will connect different applications. It doesn't matter which one. All of the Adobe applications have libraries. You can just jump between them all. Now, while we're in here, we're going to use libraries to get stuff. So we put stuff in here from Photoshop, but we've got like a logo over here. See this logo? This logo is all vectory and good. So I want to bring it in from something like Illustrator. So with it selected, I can say my library is open. I can say plus, and the same thing, graphic. Check it out. My logo that is vector, it will remain vector, is now in my library. Same with this darker version. Let's click plus, let's go to graphic. Other useful things is that swatches. Let's say that you've got a brand swatch that you use, okay, and you need to be consistent with other people in your team or just yourself, like I showed you with the bring your own laptop ones earlier. Let's go to window, let's go down to swatches. Okay, so I've spent ages making these sweet swatches and I want the rest of the team not to have to redo them. Type them in, you want them to be consistent. Okay, so what you can do is click on this first one, hold shift, and grab the last one so they're all selected. And there's an option down here. Look, it says add selected swatches and color groups to my current library. They're not sexy names, but you get the idea. It's going to add them to my library. Look, the cool thing about it is it adds them in Photoshop too. Look, they're all connected. All right, so back in Photoshop, because that came from Illustrator, it has got all the lovely vectorness in it, so it could be super scalable. What I like about that is, let's go to this last option here, Instagram 3, okay, and I'm going to drag my logo out. And the cool thing about it is if I make it really small, okay, and then hit enter, and then go Command T or Control T on a PC and make it bigger again. Can you see the quality is still there? It's because it was created using Illustrator, which is a vector drawing program. So these guys here have all the goodness inside. All right, I'm going to get it to a right size. I'm going to share another tip for you. Don't hold shift. Let me know in the comments. Are you still holding shift person, even though they changed that feature so long ago? I still do it all the time. Anyway, one of the big things of using artboards is that I do on one, but how do I get them across all of them? Who does this? You like hold down the Option or Alt key and you're like, yeah, and you're like, oh, I hope that's close. Okay, or maybe you draw a little square in the corner. Anybody do that? Then get ready for tip number 16. If I select on this and just go copy, just a regular old Command C or Control C on a PC, click on Instagram 2 and go Command Shift V. It's Control Shift V on a PC. It puts it exactly where it got it. Watch this one again. Command Shift V or Control Shift V on a PC. Okay, it means you can kind of get everything where it needs to be on all the different artboards. All right, the next tip I've called layer power moves. I added the word power to try and sex it up. They're good though. And before we jump in, what is all this stuff that's just appeared? Oh, this is from my larger course, my Photoshop Advanced course. We do all of this stuff together. So if you want to go further, link in the description, come join me and we can do this together. There's an Essentials course as well. All right, let's go. Let's go with the power moves. All right, layer power moves. Again, the buttons that you've never clicked before, let's give it another click. What I want to do is I want to add some of these colors to it. And what we can do is, watch this. I've got a lot of rectangles at the back here, okay, that are called, in the layers here called top. But they're across lots of different artboards. So we're going to supercharge artboards by going from artboard to kind. Make sure that it's, remember, turned on. No, not kind. We're going to get a name. Okay, I'm going to type in here. We're going to say top. Ready, steady. Oh, I love this feature. It just shows me every layer in my all artboards that have the word top in it. So I can click the top one, hold shift, grab the bottom one, so they're all selected, and I can say, oh, look, they all get the color. Oh. Now to get them to accept the color, you got to make sure you draw your rectangles with the rectangle tool. If you are still draw it with the rectangle marquee tool and hit fill, then you got to start using the rectangle tool. Okay, let's jump in, let's go back. So I've typed in the word back for background, and you can see 1, 2, 3, easy to grab. Pick another color. Oh, I do love it. So that's tip number 17. Okay, it's called layer name filtering. And you can see the benefits of using libraries and consistent colors from your libraries. There are loads more filters. We're not going to cover them all, but like, let's go to kind. I just want to show you one more, and let's go to type. All of the type. If you had to select all of the type and change it all at once, or anything that has an effect applied to it that is maybe a drop shadow. Okay, you want to change them. Look, everything in this document that has a drop shadow applied. So good. All right, let's turn it off, make sure the little toggle's off, and I'm going to show you another tip. This is number 18, because coloring those things are really useful. Okay, so if you bring stuff from Illustrator, okay, let's say these guys here, grab these, okay, let's go to copy, jump back to Photoshop. I'm using Tab and Control. I think on a PC it's the same, Control and Tab. It jumps between applications. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold space bar, click over here. I'm going to put it in this one here. So I'm going to go paste. So just my regular old paste. And if you've been using Photoshop for a while, you're like, yeah, I know what he's going to say. Smart objects. Oh, but not in this case. If I go to shape layer, the cool thing about shape layer is that it will, because it came from a vector drawing program, okay, it's commands hard to select. Okay, but if you bring it in as a shape layer, where is it here? Okay, it's exposed, and it means that I can do this. Look, oh, I don't have to go back into the Illustrator file. Okay, it just kind of like leaves the vector accessible for Photoshop. Okay, I'm going to put mine down here all decoratively. Tip number 19-ish is drop shadows. You're like, drop shadows? Yes, drop shadows plus. Okay, who spends way too long on drop shadows? You're like, all right, coming here, and you're like, just a little bit of spread, and like, is it 2 pixels, 5 pixels? Oh, that's the one. And you end up spending ages and ages on drop shadows, and nobody else cares, and they just use any old drop shadow. And you're like, no, 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 the right drop shadow. Guess what? You can turn drop shadows into a style. Let me show you. All right, so you can marvel at my amazing drop shadow here. Okay, so find any of the autumn escapes layers. Okay, and you can double click on both. I've got 2 drop shadows. You can add more than one, I know. There's a bonus trick for you. Gaze at the glory that is that drop shadow, but nobody else cares. But I need them to care because I need it to be consistent across the company, across what I do. I don't have to type it in every time. So what I can do is, watch this. I can select on the autumn escapes layer that I've got the drop shadow. It's kind of applied to this text here. Can you see the drop shadow? What you can do though is go to plus and look, you can actually have a layer style, whichever one you've created. Watch this, bam. Sorry, bam again. And I'm going to call this one Dan's Super Mega Drop Shadow. And you're like, okay. It just means other people using this library now can use it. And for me, let's say I want to select all of these mainland. Remember, we've got sweet tricks now. I'm going to turn my layer filtering on. I'm going to say I want everything that has the word name, not back. I'm going to type the word that says logo. I'm going to say all of you have this. Oh, look, they've all got the right drop shadow. Same with this. What's this thing called? Top. Oh, this is a good point. You're like, what's happening here? It's probably happened to you already. You got to make sure, if you try and click on this, It's saying, hey, I can't see that because we've got our layer filtering on. So you can turn it off and say, what is this one called again? Oh yeah, top. We've done that. Turn it back on. So grab all the tops for me and say, you guys all have drop shadows. Haha. Anyway, I thought it was great when I figured out I could add layer styles to a library and share it with everybody. Okay, tip number 20 is libraries can get out of control pretty quickly. Anybody got a giant library and you're like, oh, it's hard to use, lots of scrolling. Okay, what you can do, people don't know or haven't clicked before, see this little filter option. You can say, just show me the colors, please. Okay, because you want to work on those. Or just go and show me, not the colors, but show me the graphics. That's all I really want to see. Okay, and you can list them by list view rather than just a big giant image. Up to you. Just make sure you clear the filters once you're finished. Otherwise, you'll never see them again. Now, this one's going to blow your mind. Tip number 21. Command 0 to zoom out. Okay, I need to change this image. Don't forget to turn your layer filtering off. I'm going to pretend I did that on purpose, but I want to change this, but I have to change them, all of them. We've only got 3, but imagine you got 300 of them or 30 of them. They need to all change. This is another kind of bonus for using the libraries. Watch this. If I click on this guy and he's called what? Logo light. Okay. I can grab him, and because see this little cloud icon, he means he is connected to my library. What I can do is I can say, you logo light, let's right click him. I can go to this option here. It says relink to library graphic. Watch this. And you're like, ooh, is that going to work? I wonder if that's going to be awesome. Make sure when you click on dark, okay, my other logo, and I hit relink, you ready? Oh, they're all updated. You've done it before. You've got like 30 tabs open and you're updating the logo for a different client or different brand, a small change, a new sticker. But if it's in the library, you can relink to it. I do love that one. Tip number 22 is that might be the reason you hate libraries. You're like, every time I change anything, it all connected to the library is such a pain. You can actually use libraries as a one-way system. Let's say that I want to bring in a light logo now, but I don't want it to update when they change. Actually, let's bring in another dark one. Okay, if I just drag it in and hit enter, it comes in, you can see it's linked, it's got the little cloud icon. What I can do though, is I can hold down the option key when I bring it in. Okay, if I just hold that down, it's Alt on a PC, and when I hit return now, can you see it's come through and it is actually just a smart object in here, not connected to the library item. It's not going to look for the library when you send it to someone else and they don't have the library and that kind of pain. So you can just use it as a kind of a storage for all your stuff instead of that network drive that you've got full of junk, all unorganized and stuff. You can have an organized library. If you've got an existing one that is connected to the library, you can just right click it and say embed linked, and it just changes it to here, to a smart object. It's still vector, all that goodness. It's just not linked to that library item anymore. I'm going to hit undo because I want it to be. Another little trick for libraries, into libraries here, you can go to the little drop down burger menu. And there's an option here that says view on website. This is a cool view that you can give to people. Look at this. It's kind of a web-based version. They don't need a login. They can see the images. They can download them from here. So if you are sending it to a person who doesn't really use Photoshop, but they want access to the colors, okay, know what they are, and want the images, they can just use it through this kind of web version of it. They can even see my super mega shadow. I find this really handy. All right, it's tip number 23. Have you ever been asked, like you've made this, and you're like, oh, awesome, but they're like, oh, can you do an email banner as well? Or some sort of weird format, aspect ratio for like, I don't know, Facebook banner or one of those leaderboards for advertising. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on the name, to get the little pluses. I'm going to hold down the option key, remember? Alt key on a PC, we know that one. What I want to do is I'm going to grab the edge here, just drag it bigger. I'm going to make it about 250-ish. You can type in a specific number using this, okay, but 2,500-ish. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and I'm going to say, you, my friend, are deleted. Same with the ellipse. And maybe same with the background color as well. Zoom in a little bit. And if I'm using this image here, you're like, okay, but it doesn't fit. What do I do? Oh, I'm going to show you. Let's go back to hiking 01. Okay. And what we're going to do is I'm going to zoom out. And the cool tip here is if you hit the crop tool, which is the C key, that's not the tip, make sure it's at generative expand because it's on transparent by default. And watch this. If I drag it out this way, I want to drag it kind of, I don't know, a third bigger. That's all I'm worried about. Doesn't have to be exact. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm just going to click the word generate, kick back, and no more. Anybody use the clone tool stamp? Kind of got it okay, and then zoom out and realize there's a big mess. It just generated more background. Let's have a look at here. I'm going to have to make this smaller. I've got just more background. It's so, ooh, that last one's good. I love it. I'm going to go all of you guys. So I'll click the top one, hold shift, grab all of them. I'm going to add these to my CC library. Look at us boss moding libraries, using AI, getting it good. Go back to my Instagram posts. I'm going to say, where are you? This one here. I kind of just randomly dragged it out. You could be more precise, but that's going to be good enough. It's good, hey? It's kind of one of those things where a lot of like, especially stock library images where they're kind of like creatively cropped and you're like, I need some sky. Not for a really good creative reason, because you need to put text in there, like T's and C's and sales text and stuff. So it's really good for that. I love it. Okay, it's called Generative Expand and it's built into the crop tool. I love it. Now I'm gonna send mine to the back. Command Shift and first square bracket, or Control Shift first square bracket next to your P key, kind of just fires everything to the back. I'm not going to count that as a tip. Okay, just a shortcut. And I'm going to kind of lay mine out. I'll do mine in fast mode. Mainly because I only did those two things. No fast mode was needed. Good work, orange box stretching, Dan. You're a genius. So now we've got our different aspect ratio. Awesome. All right, next tip, 24. It is some cross software stuff. We'll use InDesign, but it works with a lot of different Adobe applications. Okay, I've got this one called 04 Magazine open. It's an InDesign document. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to our libraries panel. For some reason, InDesign still likes to call it CC Libraries. It's like the last to update anything, poor old InDesign. Let's go to our CC Libraries and make sure that you, at the top here, find the library we're working on. And I've got this selected, the big colored box. Dragon hiking. Click once. There we go. Look at us, consistent. The other bit of consistency we want to keep is the colors. Okay, so let's click on any of these. I'm going to click this first circle here, and I'm going to say color. Okay, and the cool thing about it is, watch this. If I open up my swatches panel, so window, color, swatches, okay, you'll see those three that I've cycled through have brought it in. If you're using CMYK colors, that's fine too. Okay, we've created ours and using RGB, but watch this. You can cycle through every one of these colors just by clicking on them and changing them, and you can see it's added them to my swatches library. So it's a great way for people to, in different applications, to all use the same color. Don't mind what color it is, except hating the stroke here. We'll give you one bonus InDesign tip. Okay, to remove the stroke around something, can you see I've got this foreground and background color? The trick here is to hit the X key. Okay, X will say, am I selecting the fill? There's one. Or the X key again, or the stroke. With the stroke at the front, you can hit the / key. Okay, so you need to find that on your keyboard. Mine's down the bottom next to the bottom right shift, and it just removes the stroke. You can do the same thing. You can toggle the X, so the fill's in front, and hit the / key, or remove it, depending on what you want to do. Anyway, I'm going to color these. All right, so I brought in my image, I brought in my colors. Next thing I want to do is to actually take something out of InDesign. So quite often for me, I ended up spending a lot of time in here building my kind of character styles, paragraph styles, type heavy kind of a program. So imagine if you could have a CC library and select something like this. Let's open up my window and let's check out my styles. Where are we? Styles. I'm going to open up character styles. Okay, I've made one called subheading. I wonder if I could just click this little button down here. Look. And it adds a character style to my library from InDesign or Illustrator or Photoshop, whatever you've created your character style in. Now though, we've got consistent fonts. It's got the right kind of kerning or tracking depending on what you've done. How do we apply it? Ooh, let's jump into Photoshop. Let's use some of our sweet shortcuts. See this boring old autumn escapes? I'm going to turn this on. Boop, or it's already on. And I'm going to go to name and I'm going to type the word autumn. You don't even need to finish typing. I've typed AUT, okay? And you can see them all here, all four of them. Watch this. If I go one, hold shift, grab the last one. They're all selected. Bam. Oh, the bam's back. It's a new day, by the way. I get one per day. I finished the last tip yesterday and I've started again today. All right, but the cool thing about it is we've got character styles built into libraries, sharing between applications. They're all consistent. We've worked out our sweet filters to be able to apply it to lots of different artboards. Oh, this is good. Just remember to turn off the filtering here, okay, when you're finished. All right, tip 25. We are going to look at something called Share for Review. Oh, I do love this one. It's been in there a while. Nobody knows it's here, and it is amazing. Because working with stakeholders, I'm using air quotes, you can't see me, but stakeholders, I hate that word, but we've all got them, right? Clients, customers, bosses, we're gonna have to share this with them. The problem with it is who's done the email thing where they've kind of like exported all these, tried to label them, rename them, sent them in an email, and they come back with like, I like it, or I like the second one. You're like, the second one? They weren't in the list. Okay, so getting comments is tricky. But this thing solves it and it does it really well. It's this option up here that you haven't clicked. You're smiling because you're like, oh yeah, I've seen that, never clicked it. Let's click on share, okay, and share for review. I do love it. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a link. I'm gonna go to copy. Now, the cool thing about this is that I can still email it to the caveman person who doesn't have Photoshop, will never sign up for an Adobe account. I can just email it to them. They open it up. Let me jump to that. Okay, they click on the link. I'm in incognito just to kind of make this even better, because one of the big problems with some of these feedback tools is that the other person has to sign up for an account and log in. And like, if you've got people like this in your lives, you probably do, they won't sign up for anything. Doesn't matter if it's free, but this link, they don't even need to sign up for. They just click it. It is opened up. Okay, and what they can do is they can say, all right. They can leave a comment, hit submit, and the cool thing about it is they can sign in or sign up if they want to. Okay, but they can just type in their name. Okay, as a guest, fake Dan. No login, no signups. You can use the pin option. Okay, so you can say, all right. Okay, they can pin stuff, submit, do all the kind of regular commenting stuff, and it's all in this like just web version of your file. And you're like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. How does it come around to you on the other side? Let's have a look. If I go back into Photoshop, what would be really nice is if you didn't have to use the web application, you could just go to Window, go to Comments. Ready? Oh, look, it's there. Cool, huh? I love it. Like, it's even this pin. Look, it's even pinned there. So you don't have to like translate weird emails to the thing they're actually trying to decipher with their poor explanations. It's actually just here, and they've pointed a bit. It's fake Dan. I do like this. It's just a great feature for sharing with clients, especially ones that don't want to log in. This is built into lots of the other Adobe applications as well. Look for share for review in that top corner in most of them. It's brilliant. Okay, tip number 26. Let's close that down. Clients would come back and said, all right, don't like the color of the socks. Fair enough, we can change that. We're going to use a super cool new tool. So what we're going to do is instead of working on this file here, we're going to work on the library item. That's the nice thing about the library. These are all linked, okay? And if I open this hiking one, double click, it opens up in its own tab, okay? Separate from the original one we made. This is kind of in the library version. It might be shared with 100 other people. For me, it's just shared a couple of applications and a couple of artboards. And what I'm going to do is I want to adjust this color here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, people have done this before. You make an adjustment layer, you paint on top of it. Some of you will, some of you won't. You can do it. All I've done is see this tool here. It's a brand new tool. It's called the adjustment brush tool. What it does is it kind of cuts out a couple of steps of the adding adjustment layers and painting it on. All you do is click on it. Okay, and pick a brush size, okay, which is your square brackets, or remember our sweet new shortcut, Control, Option, click and hold the left mouse button on a Mac. And on a PC, it is holding the Alt key down and then holding the right mouse key down, clicking and dragging, okay? And the cool thing about it now is that size is left and right, but watch this. Up and down is hardness. Anybody spend ages kind of like adjusting and messing and going back to the hardness? There's a shortcut for it. Up and down, hardness, left and right size. All right, so I want mine to kind of be a little bit hard, 80-ish%, and size-wise, just need to paint in this. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to get it small enough, and I'm going to click and drag. And what you'll notice is, actually this undo. By default, it's going to add an adjustment layer that's brightness and contrast. That might be for you. For what I want is I want to change the color. So I'm going to go to hue and saturation, and when I click and hold, nothing really happens. It kind of changes a little bit. Can you see? It cut out the step of having to create a hue and saturation mask, find a brush, and then start painting on it to limit the hue and saturation to this like little painted bit. For those of you who do it all the time, this is a time saver. If you've never done it before, welcome to the future. All right, what I'm going to do is I got this layer selected. I'm going to change the hue to something really bright and different. The client probably wants it closer to the brand colors. I'm just going to go for something silly, like red. Okay, now I'm going to go, got my adjustment brush, and I can just paint this out. If it's not working, you got to make sure you clicked on the mask. Now I should zoom in and spend a bit of time here with the brush and kind of get it. Click once, hold shift, click this one. Oh, that's a tip. I'm going to add that to the tip count, 27. If you are going through and you want to kind of join these two lines here, click once at the top, okay, to kind of get it started, hold shift and click down the bottom and it will join the two. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so I'm going to spend ages painting this in. And remember, it's an adjustment layer just on top. Okay, you wait there, I'm going to color it in. All right, not my best work. I'd probably use the select color range and do it, but I'm trying to show you this new tool. I'm kind of wedging it into this course. All right, so I've got one red sock. All right, so we've done the adjustment based on what the client wanted. Okay, now I'm going to hit save, and And this is where the real magic of libraries happens. It saves. Okay, you'll notice, ooh, a little thumbnail saved. Does that mean? It does. Watch this. If I go back to my Instagram post, look, it hasn't updated. Come on. All right, it normally updates. For some reason, mine, I end up using a beta version of Photoshop, so I'm giving it a break. You can see it's got a little warning there. It says, hey, something's wrong. You can right click it. This is a good kind of tip, I guess, is if it doesn't update, you can go to update modified content. Oh, it's got a red sock. Let's have a look at InDesign. Oh, red sock. Oh, Illustrator's got a red sock too. There you go. Now, if you go and update the library item, it will update in everything. It's super helpful, especially with these big kind of projects where they're across a different bit of application, shared against different people. Oh, I love it. The other thing is in Photoshop, if you're like, okay, I need to go back to the client. Okay, remember they asked for the wrong colored sock. Okay, I can go to share, and what you can do is, the cool thing about it is you can just say update their content, and the person on the other side doesn't need a new link. You can see their one is updated. So there's no like, go to the next link. It's just the same link. You can keep running updates. On your side, you can say, all right, where's my comments? That one is, the color of the socks is resolved. Okay, and we haven't done the dark logo yet, but on their side, you'll notice that that went away. Cool, huh? It's a great kind of flow. I think it is anyway. All right, this is serious time. For tip number 28, you need to let me know this is a safe place, okay? You need to let me know in the comments. Let's all get this out in the air, okay? Are you still using Safer Web? Let me know in the comments if that's you. And if you're, let me know in the comments as well if you're like, from my cold dead hands will you take Safer Web, even though they've called it Legacy. And I know the developers and the engineers and the product managers at Photoshop, and they were like, why do they keep still using it? You're the reason they keep using it. And today's the day I'm going to show you a sweet tip that's going to move you on to the very unsexily named Export As. Let's do it. All right, this better be good, Dan. Let's go to File, let's go to Export. Everyone else clicks this one, Legacy, don't use me, but it's still there. We want this one. It's not got a very good name, Export As. They need to call it Super Export or something. Okay, let's have a look. Open on the wrong screen again. Here we go. So the reason this is good is that you kind of have to have it if you're using Artboards, because you can see, here's all my different Artboards ready to go. Now, the benefits of using it are a few. Watch this. I can decide that I actually just want this guy to be twice the size. I don't have to go do that whole image, file size, double the size, export, and then undo. Have you done that? I'm just going to go to one size because I got mine the right way. The other nice thing is over here as well, image size. Let's say you design something that's bigger than it needs to be, or you're going out to a website that has to be, a thumbnail and it has to be 250 pixels. The cool thing about it is you can just do it here while you're exporting. It doesn't change the original, which is always a pain. If you're like me, you do this, you go File, image size, and you lower it down to like 200 pixels, and then you hit OK, and then you've got like nervousness for a little while because you're like, oh, got to export it, make sure I hit undo. Okay, whereas you can do it now, you can go to Export, Export As, just do it on the fly on the way through. Oh, it gets better. I really like this 2-up. Okay, so on this side here, I can say this is a JPEG, that is a JPEG, that's fine. On this side, I'm going to keep it at the quite high, 6. And this side, I'm going to play the how low can I go game. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit. And you can kind of start to see like, all right, it needs to be low because my developer says it has to be low. Can it be this low? No. Can it be this low? Can it be this low? Okay, and you might decide, yeah, that's a good trade-off of at 100%, it's hard to see the difference. But look at the file size difference, 70 kilobytes versus 266. So let's say we decide 3 is the go. Okay, I'm gonna go back to preview. I can say all of you are JPEGs at 3, and they'll all export that. Let's hit export. I've made a folder on my desktop called Exports, and bam. Oh, sorry about the bam. Look, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, just ready to go straight out of it. Now, the one thing it doesn't do is it exports GIFs, but it doesn't do animated GIFs. Sometimes people use Safer Web for that, and there you go. You can still use it for that. But everything else, Export As. Now, there is loads of times where you can just avoid both of those. I'll show you. This is going to be tip number 29. It's called Quick Export. Let's say that I want Instagram 2 to get exported. Okay, this one here that I've made. Okay, watch this. I can right-click the artboard name, and I can just do Quick Export. And watch this. I can stick it in. Put it in my export folder. Let's give this one a different name, V2. Let's have a look. You can see there, it's just a quick way of getting that one out, okay, as a PNG real quick. Okay, you can go into your preferences and go and change the quick export to be whatever you want it to be. Mine set as a PNG, you might set yours as a JPEG at 6. So quick export will work. You can see here, I can go straight to export as from here as well, and it will just work on this one. What I really like is, let's say they've got this logo here. Okay, you want to export just the logo part. Anybody done this? You've copied it to a new document, you try and crop it to get it the right size, you make the background transparent, blah. Okay, no fun. What you can do is say, hey logo, you export as a PNG. Hit enter, let's go have a look. Oh, look how quick. Oh, wrong one. Wrong one. Logo, there it is. You can see transparent background using my drop shadow, and I didn't have to do anything. I just kind of like grabbed it and export it. You could put them in groups and export just chunks if you want. That might be the handiest kind of export that you might find, the quick export. I love it. While we're in the exporting mode, another tip, number 30. Ooh, we're up to 30, awesome. We've got lots of things linked to the library. And sometimes, like let's say I need to send this PSD to someone and I don't want to have to share the library and it's just too much messy. What you can do is I'm going to turn my layer filtering back on. I'm going to go to this one called kind. Nope, I don't want kind. I want everything that is a smart object. So it's going to have all the smart objects, which is cool. What kind of smart objects? Just show me the ones that are linked to our library. See all of these? These are all library items. And I can just go U for the top one, across all the artboards, hold shift. I've selected them all. Now I can right click just one of them and say embedded link. So they're still smart objects, but they're not connected to the library anymore. And they look like they've kind of gone, but it just means it's only showing me ones that are linked to the library. If you turn that off, it's still showing me my smart objects, but can you see? They're not linked to the library anymore. Now I can say this is a PSD and kind of send it to someone without stressing them out with libraries. Another tip about using libraries is watch this. If I drag out our logo light, okay, and I hit enter on my keyboard, you'll see that this thing, there it is there. It is a logo that is a cloud document. Watch this. Oh, have I done this? If you hold down the option key while you drag it out and hit enter, it is a smart object. I think I've done this one. This doesn't count, Dan, but it's a good reminder. All right, we're back to a total of 30. That was cheating. Oh, I got a good one. Let's say that they're all still linked to the library. Okay, what you can do is you can go to File and you can go to Package. InDesign people will know this. Okay, but what you can do is you can say, all of you guys, I'm going to go to the desktop, go to exports, and I'm going to package this. What it's going to do is it's going to do something cool. Watch this. It is going to make a folder. Inside of that folder is the PSD, and then show you all of those links that we used in a separate document. Okay, all of these just hanging out by themselves. Now, if I send this to somebody as like a zip file, they'll have not only the PSD, but all the linked files that were previously linked to a library. That's a handy one. That is in InDesign and that is in Illustrator as well, if you didn't know. Oh man, that was good, huh? If you don't want it to end, I don't want it to end. It's good fun. Guess what? There is more. Cue the B-roll. Okay, we've only just scratched the surface here with advanced Photoshop stuff. Okay, I've got a complete course. Okay, it's called Photoshop Advanced. Good work, Dan. There's also an Essentials, depending on where you are in your journey. If you're just a dabbler, but self-taught, you might try the Essentials and then the Advanced. Okay, but loads more content to cover. There are class projects, there are teaching assistants to help, including me. Okay, there is design challenges, lots of stuff to get your Photoshop skills to the next level. There will be a link in the description for that. So I hope you're feeling pretty good. You're like a little puffed out and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm getting pretty good at Photoshop. Because not many people take the time, this whole long video, to kind of upskill themselves. And for the few of you that want to go on a little bit further and join me for my Photoshop Advanced or Essentials course, okay, click the link in the description and I'll see you over there. But for now, that is going to be us. Continue being awesome and I might see you in another video. Bye.